As many of you know, I am 51 years old. And because I am, a lot of my friends are right about my age group. A couple of years older, a couple of years younger. Yes, I have older friends and way younger friends than that as well. But because a lot of my close friends are about my age group, the topic of menopause comes up a lot. Yesterday, I went to dinner with some friends and some of my closest friends, and one of them in particular said, "So you must be doing something right because I've never heard you complain of anything that we constantly talk about." And I have a friend who's had to go through a hysterectomy. I have another one who's having a lot of issues with menopause. And and that's the norm, right? That's what we're used to. We come to a certain age and we think, well, these things come with that age group. But when my girlfriend said that, and she asked me, why is it that you don't have any of these issues, or do you have them? And obviously, she knew I didn't. She said, "You know what? You must be doing something right. You are obviously doing right things." And I've been for decades now, ever since I was 19, taking natural products. I mean, I used to take handfuls of herbs just preventively because as I studied nutrition, I learned that the way to do things was to take care of my health. So I kind of always have, and I've never been very preoccupied with being specific. What do I need for this? What do I need for that? Just bring the stuff in, and especially now with Soul for 5 years, actually for 4 years, I've also just been all about bringing in the nutrients, knowing that the body will take care of what it needs to do. But let's talk about menopause because it's such an important topic and so many people worry about it. And I often think of that because, out in Asia, like in Japanese, there's really not an exact word for menopause. There's really not a word for hot flashes either. So there are things or words or terminology that some people in the world simply don't have because they don't experience it, which means that if I arrive at a certain age, it doesn't mean I have to have certain symptoms because they aren't happening all over the world. But why are they so common here in the States? Why is that such a huge concern, menopause and all the symptoms that come with it? Because when we talk about menopause, we're talking about irregular periods are going to start. We're talking about vaginal dryness is going to be a huge factor. We're going to have hot flashes, night sweats. We're going to have sleep disorders, or women in that age group are going to have sleep disorders. We're going to have mood changes, weight gain, thinning hair, loss of breast fullness. So there's a lot of things that we expect when we hit that age and that we don't want any of it. And then, as if that were not enough, as the symptoms were not enough, now we're having to worry about, well, you know what? Now I'm going to be more prone to circulatory issues. Now I'm going to be more prone to heart disease, therefore, to osteosporosis, to urinary incontinence, to urinary infections. So as if the list that came with menopause wasn't enough, now I have to deal with all these other things that are going to be even of greater concern to me. Even if I could take care of these symptoms, I'm still going to be exposed or more prone to so many imbalances. So what is the solution? Because the solution simply cannot be, are you off on hormones? Take these. Are you lacking on this? Take this. Because that's what women have done for decades, and it isn't working. The symptoms are still here, and women are still complaining of those symptoms. So what would the solution be? I've always realized, and once I learned this, I never forgot it. I've always learned that the body needs certain nutrients to work the way it has been designed to work. It tries to take us to health every day, but we don't always give it what it needs. Now, here's the other problem that women have now in the year 2018, in our society, in our era, here in the States. We are no longer living in the 60s, which is when women hardly had a degree, hardly worked. In fact, women's lifestyle back then revolved around her husband because most women were married. So we didn't have single moms. We didn't have all these equality rights that now have placed women in such a different category. So women were only in charge of I take care of my home, I take care of my husband, and there were little certain things they did, right? You look at the pictures of women in the 60s and you see them always in the kitchen, surrounded by all these pastries and nice fresh dinners from scratch, and that was what women did, and they always looked so beautiful, so well picked up. They had their nice makeup on, they just looked so pristine. It was amazing. In fact, women taught their daughters as they married, always be sure that 15 minutes before your husband comes, you're all nice and made up and refreshed. Take a look around the house, make sure everything's in order, have his favorite meal ready or just a meal. Make sure you don't talk about yourself, it's all about him. And women were all about just little things they took care of, and then their husbands. And it's not to say that life is better now. But life has gotten so crazy for us as women that now a lot of those things we've put aside. So I know when I got married, and that wasn't in the 60s, but I know when I got married, one of the things my mom said was just make sure you always look good when your husband comes home. I thought that was one of the best things she ever taught me to do, because I think that's important to keep a relationship. Now, does that always happen? No. But does it happen 90% of the times? Oh, yes, it does. So there are little things that we can learn from that generation. And the reason I mentioned the differences is because in that lifestyle, things were different. We took care of less things, and so life was less stressful. And so how do you imagine that sex was for women back then? It was probably something that you enjoyed more because you had more time for it, you had less stress, etc. Now, women do so much that very few are interested in sex, so to speak. And I think that one of the reasons why we have so much vaginal dryness as we get along and closer to menopause has to do with the fact that women don't enjoy sex as much as they did. There's no time for it. I don't have my mind all on it. I have to get out of all my little boxes that I have and put myself in a different one, in my nothing box, to have sex, and therefore I can't. So there are so many things that we have to take into consideration. And one of the things that you'll read a lot says that, you want to avoid vaginal dryness. You have to make time for intimacy with your husband or with your significant other. And so the reason for this is because there has to be circulation in an area that you don't want to be issues with. So the simplest way to say that is you either use it or you lose it. So think of those things as we talk of everything that we're going to talk about today, because we're going to talk about how we've lost a lot in terms of nutrition as the decades have gone through. Because as women, as we do more things, we have less time for other things, and we are more stressed, and we don't eat well because no one's home to cook. So we have to depend on things that are faster, instantaneous, and that is no longer fresh food, so we're going to have issues with not getting the nutrients we need. As if that weren't enough, even if we did eat well and tried to eat more raw food and fruits and veggies and such in their raw form, the soil no longer gives us the nutrients that we need. So we still have the issue of not getting the nutrition we need. Therefore, we have a lot of inflammation in our bodies all the time. Stress causes inflammation, lack of the right food causes inflammation. And when we have that inflammation, things simply don't work the way they should. So ovaries don't work the way they should. There's always this concern about estrogen levels and progesterone levels when we hit menopause. But what people don't understand as they throw this conversation out there is that there are still organs in the body that produce these hormones. For example, I'm still getting estrogen from my adrenal glands. There are other organs in my body, glands, that are producing the estrogen that my ovaries no longer do when I hit menopause. So really, it should be like Asia and Japanese. We shouldn't have hot flashes. We shouldn't have night sweats. We shouldn't have insomnia. We shouldn't have mood swings. We shouldn't have all these other things associated with menopause in a body that is getting the nutrition it needs. But the problem is we're not getting it. We're running too much. We don't have time for ourselves. Heck, we really don't have time for ourselves. We have to make it. And because of all that, the inflammation is higher. And inflammation means organs are not going to work the way they should. And very few women have time for exercise because, forget it, at this stage of my life, I've done all the running around I'm going to do. It's time to relax. So we exercise less. We forget that we have to drink enough water, because now it's been all about the kids and everybody all their lives, and now I'm retired or I'm close to it, and so I am just going to drink more wine and drink more coffee. And so we pull away from the things we should be pulling more towards. We don't sleep at the right time, and so then we have all these issues. That's why you'll hear me talk a lot about a program with Soul Naturals. That includes these 4 products that you see here. And that includes these products that I'm going to put up here, and hopefully they'll stay here and you can see them. Here they are, Soul Megas, Probio, and Vertizymes. I have a video where I very specifically go into everything that these products do. But the reason why as women we need it when we're getting close to menopause or to avoid issues with menopause is because all of these products give us something we need. First of all, the 4 drinks address the body because they're giving the body adaptogens that it needs. Adaptogens that as I face stress as a woman, and I have all these other issues that I wasn't supposed to face, that I wasn't supposed to juggle, workplace, kids, family, everything, plus then some more. So my plate is so full. As I do that, stress comes in and affects me a huge way and will create these imbalances in my body that will equal menopausal symptoms. So if I had to signal one of the reasons why that happens is because as women we are so exhausted because we've done so much that now we don't have the resources necessary for our bodies to respond and take us to health the way they should. So this program, which is Initial Balance Package number 3 with Soul Naturals, actually returns to our body everything that we've been missing. It's going to give us omegas. You've heard a lot about the importance of flaxseed oil, of chia, of lecithin, of just omegas, plant omegas at their best, which I prefer better than fish omegas. And so because we need these, this is one way to get them into our body. Another thing is we talked about a lot of inflammation, and so that's what SoulFlex PI does. It addresses inflammation so that I don't have to, so that now I have something that brings it down as I'm having issues in my body, so that I don't have the vaginal dryness, so that I don't have all those problems. Probiotics, a lot of dryness, and is going to create, we said, a lot of urinary tract infections as we hit menopause. And because I give my body probiotics all the time and keep my good bacteria in check, now that's less of an issue. And Vertizymes, when I take it on an empty stomach, it cleans the blood. And if I have cleaner blood, I am going to have less issues with reactions and symptoms that become very common in menopause. So this is why these 8 products are so essential. And I have videos where I talk about these 4 drinks very specifically, what they do, how they work. But just in a nutshell, we have organs as women that work more than they should. And when that happens, I need something. And I don't always know what those organs are. I need something to bring down the excessiveness of those organs, and that's what this does. Then I'm going to have sluggish organs in my body. And so this is what Cinemate addresses. It addresses the organs that don't want to do their job. So as I have in my system something that constantly addresses sluggish, hypoactive, and hyperactive organs, that's going to be a major key in helping me avoid symptoms as I enter menopause. Also, there's a lot of congestion. There's things in the body that stay stagnant, and that's what this product does, moves those things along. It doesn't matter where it is, at a circulatory level, urinary, any way, at a reproductive level, it's going to help me move those things. And you'll find that as you're less stagnant, your desire for intimacy returns. You also have a balancing product that you constantly need. And as you bring these balancing benefits into your body, now you feel like I can relax. I am more interested in intimacy, and then I can work on that. Or I have time for that, and I actually want to be involved with that. And then there's ways to address our bodies specifically for the issues we're having, because while I have vaginal dryness, what can I use for it? And be very careful with the creams you choose to use, because this cream, you'll read a lot about it. It has over 101 uses, and I think a couple more of them could very well be vaginal dryness to avoid that. It is something that I can put on my husband and on his penis, or it's something that I can put vaginally on my area, or that he can put on me. So it helps with foreplay a lot as well, which I believe that a lot of the women, sometimes what has happened is they don't have orgasms, and because orgasms aren't occurring in women, well, you have the lack of circulation in there. So when I earlier talked about just not having sex or not being intimate, it's not just that. It's not letting the man have the orgasm. Is as women, how are we doing in that department? And there's a lot of help that we can have. This basic program helps because it's going to give my body everything it needs so that it can be better prepared for that. But then if I need to work directly on an imbalance or on an issue, these are awesome products to use. You can actually put some of this cream on your finger and just one drop of this, or make yourself your own little concoction. You get yourself a jar and you fill it up with your cream and you put a couple of drops of Lift. Or if you want to do it each time that you are going to enjoy intimacy, just some cream and one drop is all you need. It is safe for women to use on their clit. It is safe for men to use on themselves. And this way, you both participate in some foreplay, you both actually enjoy each other, and then you can enjoy intimacy much better. But as you think of menopause, think of the way that you can use these products to help you obtain what you want. And I hope this information that you're getting from whoever gave you this video, you can follow up on them and they can show you how to order these products directly from Soul. Or if you've come across this video in YouTube, please be sure to leave me a text if you have any questions regarding anything I said.